Hello everyone, Drake Robinson here. And boy oh boy, when I tell you I had myself quite an eventful Saturday, which is rare, but not an eventful in the good way. Like at all. Like I just wasted. Please don't ask why either, but I just wasted almost 3 hours of my life seeing a movie that I was actually had some glimmer of high hopes for. I don't know why I had those high hopes, seeing the climate that we live in today in particular. But, I don't know. It's just a small voice in my head, which I guess, I hear a bunch of voices in my head, so that's probably one of the main reasons why I even considered it to begin with, which is a big mistake on my end. But I just saw Black Panther 2. Wakanda Forever. I'm sorry, should I say Wakanda Forever? Because when I tell y'all, I have never been so bored, so unbelievably let down by a movie since I saw Scream 5 in theaters, which I am probably never say never, but I probably won't ever be giving these people my money ever again. Like, they don't deserve it. I don't know, I guess because I don't get out much, which is probably my problem. Because I'm very much a homebody, like I'm sure a lot of us good guys are. But, uh, I thought, it's a Saturday, I wasn't doing anything, I might as well see what, like I said, I had some high hopes for this movie, but I don't know what on earth I was thinking, cause this was bad. I mean, this was bad, y'all. Like, this is not even the so bad it's good, not even the so bad it's passable. No, this is very, very, very unbelievably bad, straight up bad. Like, I was not sniffing like this before I went into that movie theater, but now it's just, I don't know. I think that movie, sitting there for 3 hours, may have made me sick. Being bored in tears made me sick. So just to break it down a bit, I was someone who saw the first Black Panther movie and was, it wasn't anything extraordinary in my opinion. Like, all the over the top, critics were claiming it was, I just saw it. I thought it was passable for what it was. It was uh, something different, something new. So I was like, okay, fine. You want to do something new? All right, fine. It wasn't too overly political. It definitely had some, parts to it, but for the most part, it was, it was what it was. But this movie, my lord, when I tell you, watch the first Black Panther and watch this movie, it's night and day. Night and day. Like, when I tell y'all, like, the lack of masculinity there is in this movie is, like, so obvious and so apparent that this movie was pushing an agenda, shoving an agenda down your throat. It wasn't even pushing an agenda. It was like flat out saying, "Yeah, this is what we're doing. This is what you're gonna sit through for 3 hours. So buckle up because you got no other choice at this point." I mean, you really want to waste your money on the ticket you just bought and just get nothing for it. So yeah, that was kind of a trap when you think about it. And so yeah, like I said, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, the pacing in this movie was some of the worst pacing I think I've ever seen in any film ever, probably since I saw Scream 5 over a year ago. And I thought the pacing in that movie was horrible, was trash, which it was. But at the, I guess I can say the very, very, very least, they had some things that were sprinkled into it to make it, even if those things weren't good at all, it still made it, I guess, just still pay attention, which was, I guess, the trick to it. But this movie, there was nothing sprinkled in the slower parts of this movie. I say 85% of this 3 hour long embarrassment was just. I compare it to a snail and a turtle in a race. That's how. That's how I would compare 85% of this movie. A snail and turtle race from the from the from the from the front of the racetrack all the way to the end. That's what I compare this movie to. 85%, and the 15% were the very minimal action scenes there were in this movie. Like you would think this movie that's almost 3 hours would be jam packed full of action, jam packed full of the unbelievable scenery, and I guess you could argue the scenery was okay, but I mean, like Wakanda just looked so like ski resortish, like it literally looked like something you would go to like Cancun, Mexico, with all the nice tropical, nice, offshore like kind of hotels and stuff. Like that's what Wakanda looked like. It looked like a giant like resort of like water slides and stuff like that. It didn't look like an actual, like, again, in the first movie everything looked picture perfect. Like you saw the how beautiful Wakanda looked, around the seas and all this stuff, and the rivers, I should say, and everything just looked like an actual civilization. This movie, everything looks so like high techish, and that, like I said, Cancun, Mexico resort. Like it didn't have the presence, the scenery that it had in the first movie. Sorry, I guess it's gonna be a very, like I said, this movie made me sick, so sorry for the sniffles. So yeah, and just the like I said, and the characters were just so one dimensional. Like Shari, who you may remember was a secondary character, and some of the other secondary characters were predominantly female cast that they had in this movie were just so like not interesting in the least bit. Like, what was that guy's name? He was it Abuki or something like that? The big guy who was the ally. He, I, he had his own tribe. I believe they were called the Jabari gang or something to that effect. Now, he was a character that I wouldn't have mind following at all. He was funny when he needed to be funny. He was serious when he needed to be serious. He was, empathetic when he needed to be empathetic. And for the most part, he was just, no nonsense, like let's get down to, let's get down to business kind of a guy. Now, he's the guy I wouldn't have mind the torch being passed to be the next Black Panther. I'd much rather follow him. But the thing is, he was in this movie so little. Like every time we did see him, like that was my attention perked up because I'm like, this guy has the it factor. He has he has the look, the charm, just everything that Shari and the rest half of these female castmates, with the exception of maybe Angela Bassett. I did like her to a degree, but everyone else just did not have that presence. They did not. They had no business being leads at all. And don't even get me started on the Riri chick, Riri William or Lewis or Wilson or whatever her name was. My God, I don't think I've ever like wanted a character off my screen so badly. She was so just played for laughs, and there was no reason for me to care about her at all. Like I didn't care that the people were trying to kill her at all. Like I could like it didn't matter to me whether she lived or if she didn't. Like because her character, the movie didn't give me a reason to care about that, any of that. Like because she was just a slapstick, one-dimensional, played for laughs character. Don't even get me started on the suit that she was wearing. She looked like a bad Iron Man, Power Ranger villain, bad guy knockoff. Like it was so like mind-bogglingly like. I'm sorry, am I watching a Black Panther movie or am I watching like a X Men retread or of some kind of effect? I don't know if that was uh like I said that like what it was just like, and it wasn't interesting. It didn't look good at all. Like that whole, literally, like I said, her character wasn't interesting at all. It wasn't funny to me. Like I heard some people in the theater laughing when she was making jokes. I was just sitting there looking like none of this is funny. None of this is entertaining at all. These characters are not good at all. Uh, they're side characters and they're side characters for a reason. Okay, like I said, the head Jabari guy, I like him a lot. I don't know why they put him in the background in this movie so much. Well, I guess I do. I guess I do know why. Because they wanted to wokeify, this franchise like they do everything else. A lot of these privileged studios, and because they think that's they think, and the fact that this movie is 3 hours long and half the characters are bland and boring and one dimensional and not and you don't care about them at all. you know you would think you would want a character like a I could be saying his name wrong. If I do, I apologize. Like a Buki, the head of the Jabari gang. You would think you would want more of him in this movie to give it more of a, I guess, more of an entertainment value. Like this movie had no reason to be 3 hours long, no reason at all. Like it, it dragged so long. Like I literally, I think I couldn't really see because it was so dark. But I could have sworn I heard some people like snoring in the theater. Like this movie dragged so long. Like if a movie's gonna be that long, it better have a dang good reason for being that long. For But this movie has no reason at all. Like there are so many scenes that could have been shortened. There are so many scenes that could have been cut out entirely to have lessened. I think if this movie perhaps was a little shorter, maybe it could have had an effect, but I doubt it considering how bad the characters were and how minimal the action scenes were in this movie. Like I said, there was only 15% of this movie was action. And the action scenes weren't even all that. It was very underwhelming. You would think it was a movie, like I said, that a Marvel movie that's almost 3 freaking hours, that at the very least something interesting would happen at multiple points, but nothing interesting happens. Like it's just, I guess, it's so like it's a cure for insomnia. That's what this 3 hours was. Like it, like it makes you appreciate the first movie 10 times more because there was actual meaning for uh, um, um, for all the characters to be doing what they were doing, and most importantly, there was Chadwick Boseman, which his death was so obvious in this movie, and so makes me even sadder to be honest, because without him, this franchise cannot continue, and I think and this movie proves it even more that this franchise is dead, is has passed away along with him. You know, man, yeah. Yeah, this franchise is like it, it's toast without him. And as you can tell, the surviving characters. Oh, also they killed Angela Bassett, who was the second best character besides Chad, besides besides the in my opinion the Jabari head of the Jabari tribe guy. She was the second best character, and they guess what? They killed her off, and so now her boring one-dimensional daughter, Shari, is now, I guess, because they want to push some sort of, woke agenda that she now, the Black Panther can not just be a male, it can be a female as well. Agenda. And don't tell me they're not pushing an agenda because it was clear as day. Okay? And, and obviously it didn't work. She didn't have the charisma. She didn't have the presence of a Black Panther. She didn't have the just anything of the Black Panther. I'm sorry, she doesn't. Like no, I don't believe any. I don't believe. I. I don't believe anyone besides Chadwick Boseman had probably, dare I say, had the presence of a Black Panther. No one besides him. Sorry to say that, but it's true. And so yeah, I guess overall, and apparently there was these new black bad guys who didn't have the same, I guess, who were just like I said, that's why everything became so underwhelming. The fact that these bad guys, these like underwater fish people, also wasted pretty much half the time, giving these long-winded backstories of how they became fish people and were able to breathe underwater and these long cutaway, like I said, backstories. Man, they were so boring. They could have been trimmed down easily. They could have been cut out, in my opinion. It's like why give away something like that? Why not let them, be kind of mysterious and like where did these people come from? They're an interesting concept, definitely, but just the way it was executed wasn't good in my opinion. It wasn't, like I said, the battle scenes were so underwhelming with how they would end. They would just end abruptly. There was no like big scene to where there was a need for an end. There was no scene at all to where an end would just come out of nowhere. It'd be like okay, they'd be fighting 1 second and literally blink your eye and the fight would be over entirely. And so it'd just be like what? So yeah, the bad guys in this movie were not good at all, and they turn out to be to do an about face, which I hate in movies. I hate it when the bad guy just does a stupid about face for no reason at all. Especially if they had a specific goal in mind, and they were gonna accomplish that goal regardless. So like, and these bad guys had a specific goal in mind, and at the end they just became good guys all of a sudden. And so that didn't make any sense. I'm not a fan of about faces with villains. I like villains in movies. I prefer the villains over the bad guys in half the situation. So that's probably why I also took, some. That's also probably why I didn't like that much. So yeah. So yeah, overall, Black Panther Wakanda was a horrible movie. Probably one of the worst Marvel films I think I've ever seen. I'd go so far. It makes you appreciate the first Black Panther way more because it wasn't trying to push some heavy agenda on us. This movie definitely was female oriented, agenda on everyone that no one asked for or cared about, and you want to be bored in tears for 3 hours, please tune in. But yeah, it's probably my last time seeing any other Black Panther movie. Just without Chadwick Boseman or Killmonger or I don't think the franchise can survive without that. Just without those guys, I just don't. But yeah, I think I've gone on long enough. Yeah, horrible movie, wasted my time. I'd rather go. I'd rather go garbage can rummaging through with the freaking raccoons to waste my time in seeing a movie like this ever again. If I'm gonna be quite honest, but yeah, I think I've gone on long enough. I'm out.